Hello, this is Eric Michael Loyd. I wanted to read an article regarding single sex schooling in the brain. This is from Psychology of Women. Nicole Elsquest is one of the authors. The second author is Janet Shibley Hyde. Half the Human Experience, 8th edition. Sure, they probably have another edition out at this point. Single sex schooling in the brain. This is on page 217. Focus 10.2. Single sex public education is the latest fad in the United States. To be clear from the outset, we are talking only about public education, not private schools such as Catholic schools, which are free to make whatever choices they wish. The question we address here is, should single-sex schools be supported by taxpayer dollars? That decision should be made on the best available science. According to the website of the National Association for Single-Sex Public Education, NASSPE, www.singlesexschools.org, single-sex schools break down gender stereotypes, address profound gender differences in learning styles, and are geared to the notion that boys' and girls' brains develop along different trajectories. Let's take up the brain claim first. The NASSPE website claims that the different regions of the brain develop in a different sequence in girls compared with boys, citing a study of adolescents, Lenroot et al. 2007. This study, in fact, measured only the size of different regions of the brain in a modern version of the brain size research discussed in this chapter. The researchers found that expansion of gray matter, the cortex, occurred, which are the neurons. Gray matter, the cortex, occurred. Expansion of the gray matter, the cortex, occurred about 1 or 2 years earlier in girls, just as pubertal development does as well. The crucial point is that scientists do not know what these size differences mean for behavior. The authors themselves concluded differences in brain size between males and females should not be interpreted as implying any sort of functional advantage or disadvantage. Size-function relationships are complicated, says Lenroot et al., page 1072. It's quite a leap of faith to go from this study to the conclusion that single-sex schools are a good idea. In his book, The Boys and Girls Learn Differently Action Guide for Teachers, Michael Gurian, another major advocate for treating boys and girls differently in the classroom, claims boys use the right hemisphere of the brain more, girls the left. That's 2003, page 11. But, as noted elsewhere in the chapter, a meta-analysis of studies of gender differences in lateralization found no gender difference. So a bogus scientific claim is used to make the case that boys and girls learn differently and must be taught differently. Neuroscientist Liz Elliott, 2009, reviewed all the available evidence on gender differences in the brain. She concluded, what I found after an exhaustive search was surprisingly little solid evidence of sex differences in children's brains. Page 5. That's a lot of research to review. She then went on to emphasize the importance of neuroplasticity, discussed elsewhere in this chapter. Advocates of single-sex education also claim that it is needed to accommodate girls' and boys' different learning styles. Boys are thrilled and aroused by energetic teachers who talk loudly, whereas girls are intimidated to the point of nausea. Boys should be taught through loud confrontation, whereas girls must be treated delicately. Sachs, 2006. The idea of learning styles has captured the popular imagination. I'm a visual learner. I'm an auditory learner, and so on. In fact, though a blue ribbon panel commissioned by the Association for Psychological Science concluded that there is no evidence that people with one preferred learning style actually benefit more from one instructional method than from another. Pashler et al., 2009. So the argument for the importance of learning styles in education, much less gender differences in learning styles, fails the test of science. The third argument by proponents of single-sex schools is that they break down stereotypes and allow kids to excel in counter-stereotypic areas. Developmental psychologists, however, have much evidence to indicate that when social groupings, for example, boys versus girls or blacks versus whites, are made salient to children, stereotyping and prejudice toward the other group increases. Bigler and Libin, 2007. Researchers can even get these effects by putting some of the kids in a classroom in red t-shirts and the others in blue t-shirts, having the reds and blues line up separately. The reds start preferring other reds and feeling negative about the blues. Single-sex education does exactly that. It makes gender very salient by saying that girls and boys are so different that they cannot be educated in the same classroom. This sets the stage for increases, not decreases, in stereotyping. Different proponents of single-sex education sometimes use different arguments that actually contradict each other. One argument is that boys are oppressed in co-ed classrooms because the teachers are almost all women and they conduct teaching in a feminine manner. That doesn't make sense. The best research methods class I ever took was by a very prominent professor who happened to be a woman. The argument is based on essentialized notions of boys and masculinity. Cohen, 2009. See Chapter 16. The other argument, which comes from some feminists, is that girls are oppressed in co-ed schools because of boys' sexual harassment and dominance in the classroom. Wouldn't it be better to work on overcoming these issues by creating better male-female relationships through male-female interactions in co-ed classrooms rather than by gender segregation? The Stanford Harmony program at Arizona State University is working on just an approach. Visit, the link is http://sanford.class.asu.edu/. Results of the program are being evaluated scientifically, and we could look forward to learning the outcomes. The sources for this article, page in this chapter, are Bigler and Libin, 2007, Cohen, 2009, Elliott, 2009, Gurian and Ballou, 2003, Halpern et al., 2011, National Association for Single-Sex Public Education, 2011. Thank you for your time. cut this video. No, it's not letting me in. Why is this not letting me in? All right.